Hi everybody, this is Professor Paul and welcome to Advanced Ideas presentation of Ultimate Time Management. This could easily be the most important training you do all year for many people in their entire life. So let's look at some of the goals of the training. Now the first one is it's a time management program. We want to save you a ton of time. Not a little bit of time, not a few extra minutes a day, a ton of time, sometimes years of your life. Second thing is we want to help you move your career along faster. It doesn't have to be so slow. We can move you ahead years faster, and we'll prove it to you. 3, we're going to improve the productivity of your staff. If you have people working under you, for you, maybe this is your own business. This will help move your career along faster, help save you problems, make your unit more productive. And if you own the company, it's going to put a lot of money in your pocket. If you don't own the company, it's going to make you look good, get those promotions, and what? Put some money in your pocket. And that's our next thing, is to help you get what? More money in your pocket. Did I mention money in your pocket enough? I hope I did. Because this is going to do it in a lot of different ways. Saving time and saving money are the same things. Some of these time savers are actually going to show you ways to make more money while you're saving time. So 4 is not a duplicate. It's just to stress how many different ways we're going to help you out in this training. Number 5, and this is not a small one, to reduce your stress. Here's my definition of stress. I give you a 20-hour project and I give you 8 hours to do it. We call that massive stress. Here's stress reduction. I give you an 8-hour project and I give you 20 hours to do it. That's called massive relaxation. When you learn to save time, the way we're talking about in this training about saving time, your stress is going to go down significantly because it's going to give you so much time back, make you, your team, your processes so much more productive that your stress is going to crash. Perfect. 6, we want to give you years of your life back. Not a couple minutes. I didn't say minutes. I didn't say hours. I didn't say days. I didn't say months. Years of your life back. And some people, because of some of the techniques we're showing you here, they couldn't have accomplished what they accomplished in their entire lifetime without these strategies. So maybe for those people, we gave them their entire life back. Not bad, right? Now, the first thing I want to give you is a definition of time management. I define it as regaining control of your time and your life. Now, here's where I specify time and life. Because time and life are the same thing. The first thing I want you to understand is that time and life are the same thing. There is no difference. Here's a great quote. You should write this down, print out this slide, put it up on your wall. Life is not but a measurement of time. You cannot waste one without losing the other. So, our life and our time are of ultimate importance. Hold in mind that your life is your greatest asset, bar none. Never forget that you can't bank time. You say, well, maybe I'll take an hour from today and I'll spend it tomorrow. Absolutely no such thing. Use it or lose it is the policy that's currently in effect. Next, people who waste your time are stealing your life. Remember, time and life are the same thing. These people aren't stealing your time, they're stealing your life. They're killing you. Next, are people helping you spend your time or waste your time? When I was a kid, I used to say, oh, I'll go out with my buddy and, we'll blow a couple hours at the ballpark or do whatever. Blow a couple hours? Blow your life? Blow your time? Blow your whole life away? No. When you spend your time, and remember, time is money, right? So time has a monetary value. You better be getting something that was of equal or greater value. Say you think your time is worth, maybe you make $40,000 a year, you think your time is just worth $20 an hour. did you spend your hour on something that was worth at least 20 bucks? So anytime you spend an hour, was it worth at least 20 bucks? Now, if you want to start making 300 bucks an hour, if you want to start making that kind of money, don't do any activity that wouldn't pay 300 bucks an hour. Start doing higher level activities. Now, obviously you won't start there, but I want you in your mind to start ticking up the value of your time. Then you're either going to end up with more time or more money. If you do it correctly, according to all the parameters we're going to teach you here, you'll have both. So always be thinking, are people helping you spend your time or waste your time? And finally, always be searching for new ways to save time. This course is a beginning, it's not the end. It has some of the greatest time management tips and techniques and values out there. It does not have all of them. And finally, for this section, I leave you with this thought. This is from a great book by Ogmandino. It says, "What rich man, old and sick, feeble and helpless, would not exchange all the gold in his vault for the blessings you have treated so lightly?" What blessings are we talking about? We're talking about time. Right now, you've got Bill Gates, and he's worth over $100 billion. That's $100,000 million. $100,000 million. You can't even imagine that much money. Do you think he'd hand you $1 billion right now if he were on his deathbed and you could give him just one more day? Yeah. Matter of fact, he might empty out the whole damn vault. I'm sure he'd leave some money aside for his kids, but yeah, you would see a good chunk of that. That's how valuable your time is once you start to value your time. You're doing fantastic. I'll see you in the next section. Welcome back, everybody. So, what are our goals? Save time, save money. Now, we said that your life and your time are the same thing. Time and money are the same thing as well. Keep those two in mind. Now we're going to jump into the core principles, the 3 fundamentals of time management. Make sure these 3 are going okay, and then we'll be prepared to jump into the next section, which is the specific techniques of time management. Now here's a great quote by Stephen Covey. It says, "What if you get to the top of the ladder only to find it's leaning against the wrong wall?" What does that mean? Well, you're trying to get from point A to point B. You're trying to accomplish your goal in life. What if you picked the wrong model? What if you picked the wrong goal? What if you went and you got a 4-year degree in psychology and you really wanted to be a medical doctor? Psychology they do from the neck up, medical doctor they do from the neck down. You were close, but you missed it. It would be a massive fail, wildly expensive, 12 years out of your life, boom, starting over from square one, massive losses. And you feel stupid. You've got to spend some time planning. There's no sense going in the wrong direction at a high rate of speed. Make sense? Make sure you do this. Otherwise, you're wasting years of your life. Here's your next concept. Always start with the end in mind. Now, it used to be you started at point A, you wanted to get to point B, and you simply did every step in between. So the old mindset was that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. No, the new thinking, the improved thinking, not the gold level of thinking, but the platinum level of thinking, is that the shortest distance between 2 points is a resource. See, the old thinking was the shortest distance. Say I take a letter and I write something down and I lick it and I stick it and I dutifully put it in the mail. Mailman walks directly to his car, doesn't waste any time, takes his car, drives it to the post office puts it on another car, it goes to the airport, they fly directly to the next site, they take a truck and they go directly from point A to point B, they go directly to the nearest post office hands it to the mailman, they drive directly to your house and they drop it off. That is the shortest distance between 2 points. Now we can do it almost like it's Star Trek and we can teleport, right? We do email. Email is a resource. It's not the shortest distance between 2 points. A resource is the shortest distance between 2 points. You can do this a lot of different ways. You can do this with technology. You can do this with networking. You can do it with consulting. There's a lot of different ways to get from point A to point B besides going in a straight line. So hold that idea, think about that idea, remember that idea. Now, here's one of the greatest principles in all of time management. This is called the Pareto principle. This was started by Alfredo Pareto. You can't make this stuff up. Alfredo Pareto. An appropriate name, kind of sounds Italian, right? He was an Italian economist, and what he did was he was studying land rights. He wanted to see what was going on with land rights in Italy, and he noticed that 20% of the population owned about 80% of the land. The other 80% of the population owned the remaining 20%. So he created something called the Pareto principle when he wondered if this kind of formula worked for other things. Now they call it the 80-20 rule, but it's not always exactly 80-20. It might be 70-30, 90-10, 75-25, but it floats around 80-20. So what is the Pareto principle, and or also known as AKA the 80-20 rule? Well, it works in two directions. Say 20% of your clients equal 80% of your sales. That's true. There'll also be another 20% of your clients that equal 80% of your problems. Those are probably the 20% you want to get rid of, right? So 20% of what you do on any given day, remember this, 20% of what you do equals 80% of the value. Look at, in everything you do, what do I actually get paid for? What are my highest value tasks? And always start with those. If you could only get one of these done, would you want to get the 20% done that's worth 80% of the value? Or would you want to get the 80% done that's worth 20% of the value? You want to get the 20% done that's worth 80% of the money. That's right. Because A, it's a quarter of the work, and it's worth, what, 4 times as much. Beautiful. Now, so principle number 1, know what the 80% is, know what the 20% is. Step 2, always get the 20% done. Make sure it gets done. I would go by making it get done first. Now, here's what you want to do. Figure out the 20% of what you're doing that makes 80% of the money. This is step 3. I want you to see how much of that 80% that only makes 20% of the money you can eliminate, and how much of that 20% that makes the 80% of the money you can duplicate. If you do this and you're really effective, you should get that 20% to take up 80% of your time, and there's going to be 20% left, you know, that just can't be eliminated. But by the time you do that much, you will be making 4 times as much money for no more additional effort. Do you hear that? 4 times as much money for no more additional effort. Learn, understand, worship at the altar of the Pareto principle, a major key time saver. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for, specific time management techniques. Specific management technique number 1, voice recognition software. Now I like to brag that I can do a hot 25 words per minute hunt and peck. You know, the old 2-finger typist. That's actually pretty good for 2 fingers. Voice recognition will now do 80 to 125 words per minute. This is realistic. This is not what they list on the box and all that type of stuff. They'll tell you they can do 150, 200 words per minute. No, no, no. After you've made any corrections, you're slowing down, you're pronouncing your words correctly, any corrections that you got to make, about 80 to 125 words per minute. So now it's a significant jump. Back in the day, you had to buy really nice programs like Dragon Naturally Speaking. When I first got my first computer, was the dream was that I get this really high-speed computer. You know, it was probably going 150 megahertz at the time. Now they're all in gigahertz. But that I'd be able to talk into my computer and it would be able to type it out for me. And I was doing a fast hunt and peck of about 25 words per minute. And when I speak into it, it would do between 15 and 20 words per minute. It was really disappointing. So the technology wasn't where it needed to be back in the 90s. Obviously, this isn't the 90s anymore. The technology was largely slowed down. Like I said, mine was in megahertz. It was the speed of the computer and the random access memory, because voice recognition takes up a huge amount of memory. So voice recognition can get you typing about 4 times as fast. And what's nice is, at least Windows to date has always given a free voice recognition software that's about as good as you can buy on the market. Even if you buy, say, like Dragon Naturally Speaking, which I love, I use that all the time. That's about $100 to $400 software, depending upon which version you buy. But the Windows version will work about 98% as good as that, and it's free. So I would go with that one before I try any other one. At least use it for comparison. But voice recognition can save you a ton of time. And for a lot of people, speaking things out is easier in their train of thought than talking things out. So absolute gold. Make sure you get this. Next, I call it my traveling university and my university on wheels. One of the ways I got a huge education and a huge jump on everybody else and saved a boatload of time in doing it was my university on wheels, my traveling university. I always had some kind of literature that would travel with me. It could be a book I put underneath my arm. If I didn't want to carry around the book, I used to photocopy some pages and stick them in my back pocket. So I used to call it the butt technique. Wherever I went, my butt was nearby. It was within arm's reach, right? So I could, even if I forgot the book and I forgot the CD and I didn't have my MP3 player, now you can download everything into your phone. I used to use a PDA. I mean, used to have a laptop. Used to have a bulky CD player. Now things are so much better. Technology's getting better and better and better. So your traveling university can be CDs, MP3s, books, magazines, saved articles that you copied. Like I said, you photocopied and you put it in your back pocket. I love Kindle, Kindle, because I can always, anytime I got nothing to do, I got something to do, I can read a Kindle book on my cell phone. Now I can highlight it, take notes in it, everything else. They're really advanced now. I always keep a flash drive with me with some extra materials. I have a flash drive that I plug into my car that plays the MP3s. There's a lot of different ways to do it today. A lot of people just play their media out through their cell phone, and that'll even project out through the car. So technology is getting really great about allowing us to use our downtime. So driving, average commute is 20 minutes each way. That's 40 minutes per day. You could be learning something. If you just do that 5 days a week, take the weekends off, and you do that for a year, that's worth half a semester of college or half a year of college. So 1 semester or half a year of college. So every 8 years you're getting a 4-year degree. Nice. If you listen to a little bit more, do it when you're walking the dog, mowing the lawn, going out for a walk. Anytime you have downtime, you could easily get a year or more of education while you're doing nothing. I do it when I'm waiting for meetings, whenever I can get 5 minutes together. When I'm waiting for doctor's office, dentist, I don't care if it's waiting in line at Walmart. I don't know why. I think they have a magical thing where if there's less than 6 people in line, they find some way to slow it down. So this is one of the things that anytime you got nothing to do, you got something to do. I want you to hear a ticking clock in the background as you go through time management, saying tick, tick, tick. I'm going to translate tick, tick, tick from tick to English. Tick, tick, tick means I'm losing money. 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 Here's the other thing. Somebody's getting ahead of me. 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 Hear that in your head, and you won't waste your time. Next technique, and everybody should nail this down. Learn it as early in your career as you can. Teach it to your kids. Learn speed reading. There's an old quote. It says, readers are leaders. Why? Because the smartest guy gets the job, despite what a lot of the line people think. Let me tell you what the fastest way to speed read is. Look at the cover. You really can judge a book by the cover. Barnes & Noble actually did a study and said 90% of people buy their books, they only looked at the cover. They never looked inside. So, fastest way to speed read. Look at the cover. Read the inside of the book jacket. Just the front part where it tells you what the book's about, not the back part where it tells you about the author. That's what I call the I Love Me section. Read through the table of contents, and then flip through the table of contents, find your favorite chapter, and read like a paragraph or two to see if you like their style and if they're immediately giving you value. If they're not, the average book takes about 20 hours to read. So I'm going to teach you the fastest way to speed read. Do just what I told you. It'll take you under 2 minutes, and then slam the book down and say, oh my God, this is the worst piece of junk I ever seen. And save yourself 20 hours. That's the fastest way to speed read. Now there's other ways to speed read, but you can follow your finger and read the text. Do you know if you follow your finger and read the text, and you do that for about 15 to 20 minutes, after about day 3 or 4 or 5, somewhere in there, you're going to start reading 25% faster, which means in the time that somebody else can read 4 books, you can read a 5th one, maybe a little bit more. That's awesome. So one of the things that I want you to do is, don't use that as your speed reading course, but that's a couple of different ways to speed read. I want you to take a speed reading course. Spend the money. And on average, people can get at least double their reading speed with the same or higher comprehension. And people that really practice it the way you should practice it can go about 4 to 5 times faster. Awesome. Huge time saver. Web surfing. Huge time waster. Several studies have shown that web surfing, on average, wastes 1 to 3 hours per day. That's a huge amount of time. And it's much closer to the 3. It's skewed on over to that area. If you were to time yourself, and we call it quote unquote web surfing, add in all your cell phone time, which is your portable web, okay? And you'll find it might be 5 or 6 hours a day. It just gets huge, fast. Say you came out around 2 hours a day. Every 4 years, that's 1 full year of labor. So figure out how much you make in a year and say, in 4 years, that's how much I waste every 4 years. You could, if you spent that same amount of time working, you'd be able to retire about 10 years early with about 5 times as much money as anybody else. It's a huge amount of time to waste and money to waste. It's a killer of time. And I've done this in seminars. I'll have like 300 people in the room, and I'll say, hey, how many people like to surf the web? All these hands go up. Hey, how many people like to, play with your cell phones? Oh yeah, I love to do that. I love to watch stuff on my cell phone. I say, how many people spend an hour a day? A bunch of hands go up. How many people spend 2 hours a day doing that? A bunch of hands go up. How many people spend 3 hours a day? A bunch of hands go up. How many spend 4 hours a day? A bunch of hands go up. 5, 6, 7, a bunch of hands start going down, okay? But a huge amount of people spend that much time on their cell phone or the web. Then I do a final thing. I say, show of hands. How many of you have earned even $1 surfing the web or using your cell phone? Very few hands go up. Maybe 2 or 3. Like less than 1% out of 100. The rest were all just wasting their time. These are people that don't have time to get a college degree. These are people that don't have time to work overtime. These are people that don't have time to get a promotion, to go to school, to spend time with their kids, to spend time with their families, to take time off. And they waste all this time web surfing and messing with their cell phone. Don't let it be you. Look at other people like that like a fool. If I'm on the web, it's because I'm doing a training. It's because I'm gathering some information. It's because I'm downloading a resource. I'm working on something like building up my social media. Why? To sell to those people. Don't waste time. That's one of the biggest time wasters. If you can just get that time back, your life will be transformed. Now, your final tip for this section, I'm going to kind of tell you the opposite. Go ahead and use that cell phone. There's some great productivity apps. Certain apps that are on there, they can save you a ton of time. Sorry, Clash of Clans, not one of them. Angry Birds, not one of them. You know, don't be playing games on there. Don't do the social media. Leave that alone. But great productivity apps, audio recorders, note takers, calendars, Microsoft Word, Kindle books, audio books, all kinds of productivity apps. There's a productivity app for almost anything that could be saving you time. So look through the apps and see which ones are saving time, which ones are losing time, and you know what to do. Just like any good manager. People that are losing you money, fire them. People that are making you money, hire them, okay? And go through your apps like that. And start looking for new apps. What are apps that could help me do everyday tasks that I didn't even think there was an app for? Go out, find it, get it, and I'll see you in the next section. Now here's a great tip that's going to save you money and time. Cancel your subscriptions. I'm telling you, if you haven't got time for the good stuff, skip the trash. Look at all these newspapers. I had a friend, he used to brag that every Sunday he read the Sunday Times from cover to cover. Now, first of all, you couldn't do that because it'd take you about 6 days. But that's a horrible thing to brag about. Why? Because most of it is bad news. All the news is bad. My favorite joke when I see somebody reading a newspaper is, any good news? And they laugh and say, nope, not today, not ever. That's the reply, but the reply is sincere and it's honest. And the joke is only funny because reading a newspaper thinking you're going to find something good is a joke. Matter of fact, when I got out of college, I started reading the Wall Street Journal. You know, I thought that made me smart. But I was very targeted. Even I didn't read the Wall Street Journal from cover to cover. Where did I go? I went to the front page where all the major news is. Boom. In one page, I got all the information. I went to the money section to look to see where to invest. I went to the back section to see how my current investments were doing. And then I went to the health and technology section so I could actually learn something. And I threw out the rest of the paper. Now you might look at that and say, Paul, you threw out 90% of the paper. Yeah, I skipped the trash. So even if there is a good magazine, a good newspaper that you're going to read, and don't get me wrong, you can find some tidbits in these. Remember the Pareto principle? 20% of what's in there is going to be worth 80% of the value. I think about 5% of what's in there is worth 95% of the value. So be very selective and get rid of all the rubbish, especially stuff like People Magazine and, you know, all these, you know, In Touch magazines and Miss Magazine and all the rubbish ones that are just busy about other people's business. Until you get your life 100% squared away, don't start working on the Kardashians' life. You know, don't start working on the local superstar football player's life. Don't worry about what they're doing. Worry about how is my life going? Am I saving my time? So, use a time management perspective whenever you're going through any of these newspapers, any of these magazines, any of these subscriptions. So 1, skip the trash. That'll save you a bunch of time. Go ahead and cancel any subscriptions that you don't need because they are trash. And even if you're reading them, find the 5%, which is the 90%, throw out the rest, use that time wisely, and enjoy it. Now, this is one of the biggest time management tips ever. Think of it this way. When you have a mentor, they might have been out in the field 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. They are going to take years off your learning curve. They're going to tell you in minutes or hours what took them years and decades. That is a huge savings. Also, they're going to save you a ton of costly errors. In AA, they had an old expression said simply, let me have done that for you. Which means instead of using your brilliant plan to do blah, 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 I've already done it. I can tell you how it comes out. Let me have done that for you, and don't bother. Don't lose the wife. Don't lose the job. Don't go to jail. I already did that for you. I know what happens. When you do A, you get B. Let me tell you how it works out. That's what a mentor will do for you out there in the business world or the health world or whatever type of mentor you have. They will have already spent their money and their time and their pain to get you the valuable information. I can tell you as a therapist and an educator, there are two ways to learn. One, painful personal experience, also known as trial and error. Very, very painful, very costly in time, money, stress, in a lot of ways. Then there's observational learning. Watch what this person does. When they do something wrong, make a note of it and don't do that. When they do something right, make a note of that and do that over and over and over again. A mentor is observational learning. It's education at its finest, at its most efficient and its most valuable. Next, the mentor is a huge store of valuable information. I had a buddy, Nick. He had multiple degrees in everything. And he says, Paul, I hardly know anything. I know like 1/1 billionth of what there is to know out there. So he says, if I can't figure something out on my own with my vast store of knowledge, in the first 5 to 10 minutes, boom, I'm on the phone. I won't even strain my brain to try to figure it out. I'm not going to go through the trial and error. I don't have to know everybody. Listen to what he said. Write this down. I just have to know who to ask. I don't have to know everything. I just have to know who to ask. That's a mentor. So they're going to provide you with a lot of direction. They're going to provide you with a lot of support. They're going to help to encourage you. You can use them to bounce your ideas off of, get some feedback on them. A lot of times we don't want to tell people our brilliant ideas. You know why? One, sometimes people are discouraging when they should be encouraging. Other times it's us. We know if we mention it to somebody, they'll immediately start picking out the flaws, and we don't have a really good comeback, which means we're hoping we're going to get lucky when we really need to reevaluate our plan. And that's where the mentor will stop you very gently and tell you, hey, good plan, but I think we need to tweak these couple of areas. Then it'll be an excellent plan with an excellent chance of success. Now, the next area that they can help you with is they can help you get connected with their network. Remember my buddy Nick said I don't have to know everything, I just have to know who to ask? When you're first starting out, or even when you've been out there for years, each person you add to your network has a network themselves. So the first and best network, before I ever had a network, was my buddy Nick. He knew a bunch of people. I didn't know anybody that had any valuable resources. Your mentor can help get you connected. And that brings us to the next part, which is networking. Much of your success in life is truly going to be based on who you know. And what's that? That's your network. So it doesn't mean, hey, I know this person and they're going to get me the job. That's the classic thing, some kind of, nepotism or favoritism or something. No, it simply means that we are successful in life in almost direct one-to-one proportion to the number of people that know us, like us, and trust us. That's our network. Networking can get you ahead faster than anything. In life, we don't compete, we conspire. We work together. Fools compete that have egos. The people that are really going to get wealthy, they conspire. They work with everybody. Okay? They want to make it happen. They want to create as many win-win situations and good connections as they can and just make a lot of money together. Sometimes even if they don't trust somebody, they trust their greed and they can still network with them. Now, this doesn't mean network with everybody. There's some people you're going to want to avoid. But there's a ton of great people out there that can be life-changing. This is one of the areas, the mentor and the networking, so two of the areas that can take years and even a lifetime off your work. There are some people that you can mentor with or can network with that will transform your life. I remember when I first started internet marketing, I was working away. I finally found the great secret of how to make money online. I then shared it with some friends. They made a bunch of money online, and boom. Why did they make all that money? Because they connected with me. It was life-changing. They just happened to be in my network. I proposed this to them, and I only proposed it to 3 people because those were the people that I knew, I liked, and I trusted. I wanted to see them get ahead. So, I had one friend that was in bankruptcy. This saved, his house, his life, his marriage, everything. Boom, put him back on track and put him in the green and gave him future income. This was everything to him. So, everything that he had made in a lifetime, he had lost, and now he's recouped it. Why? He could have never done that on his own. He had success once. It wasn't really something that he could duplicate, and he was out there in the wind. But because he had a good network, boom, he's back in the money. So when you're looking at networking, remember your life, your success will be in direct one-to-one proportion. Write this down, direct one-to-one proportion to how many people know you, like you, and trust you. So get out there and get networking. The key to networking is to get good quality. So always look at the quality. Look at the quantity, the number. Quantity is not as important as quality. You want good quality contacts. Matter of fact, if it's not good quality, I don't want them in there as part of my what? My quantity. Make sense? Skills. Look for skills across a wide area and make sure you've covered what I call your wheel. You need somebody that's good with health. You need somebody that's good with wealth. You need somebody that's good with finances, like an accountant. So it's a little different than wealth. You need somebody that's good with therapy, like myself, a good therapist to check things out psychologically. You might need somebody that's good with physical fitness or whatever. So, it might be spirituality for you. Have people that have different areas in all the major life skills. Don't leave a hole there. Look for people, too, that have influence, that can get you zoning permits when you need it, that can get you pushed to the front of the line in different areas. You know what influence is. Finances are also important too. These are people that can loan you money or get you better rates or tell you where there's financial help available. I remember in my business, one of the biggest problems was just getting enough money together so I could make more money. I basically had an online machine to make money, and I just needed some loans to make the money. Matter of fact, I was paying the loans off every single month. That's how much money I was making. And then I'd do it again. And pretty soon, even that loan amount wasn't enough, even though I was repaying it and had it replenished every month. I needed bigger loans to make bigger amounts. Isn't that funny? So, finances are very important. And resources. It could be a simple resource, like I can go 3 houses down and get some extra printer paper when I need it, or an extra printer cartridge. It could be a resource like I need a hand truck, so I got to remove my refrigerator. Maybe you've got a sports car and you got a regular sedan or something like that, and you need to get a gas grill for your house, and you need somebody that has a pickup truck, or you're getting a piece of furniture. Your couch won't fit in your trunk. So resources can be a lot of different things. Resources are almost like the skills area. You need somebody that owns a truck when you don't own a truck. You need somebody that has a hand truck when you don't have a hand truck, a ladder when you don't have a ladder, certain tools when you don't have tools. Somebody that has certain computer skills when you don't have those computer skills. Somebody that does search engine optimization when you don't know how to do that. Somebody that knows how to get certain forms or certain contacts that you need. There's lots of different types of resources. When I was looking for educational jobs, I needed somebody that was in that field that could help me get hooked up and get a job teaching. So that worked out as well. I made a lot of money teaching. I taught a lot of people. I taught the next generation of therapists. So resources are very, very important. Now, this is just to get you started. Here's a few networking options. One is meetup groups. Simply look up meetup groups. Go ahead and do an internet search in your area for local interests and meet great local people. So if you want to get connected with people in your area that are doing the same thing that you're doing, This is a great way to make it happen. So the next one is LinkedIn. This is an online system for connecting, jobs, questions and answers, research, and advice. Let me break this down for you. One of the things that you want to do is just get signed up on LinkedIn. They marked it down to free, so it's right in your price range. Go ahead and do a nice little online profile, put the little picture in, put a few details in, some contact information. In like 15 minutes, you're done. Boom. Now you're on LinkedIn. Now, anytime anybody is checking you out there in the professional field, whether you're looking for a job or you're looking to get a connection or somebody just wants to research you, maybe they're checking into you before they do a deal with you, you look professional. Only the sharpest people, only like the top 10% of the people in the country go to LinkedIn. I don't know what the hell the other 90% are doing, but they should be on LinkedIn. Now, I'm going to give you a great tip here. This will be worth the price of the course by itself if you loved LinkedIn. There is a way to go in through Fiverr, and as a gig, Fiverr is Fiverr.com. They'll do gigs for 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks. It used to be called Fiverr because it was all $5, no matter how much service you got. Now they do $5 and above. So they've changed their model in the last few months or last couple of years. So get a gig there that allows you to increase your contacts on LinkedIn automatically. Like I did a system, God, I must have done this like 8 years ago. I was struggling and struggling and struggling. I've been on LinkedIn for like 3-4 years, and it probably gotten up to maybe about 150, 200 contacts in that period of time. Long, slow, pedantic, very, very, it was like walking through mud trying to get my LinkedIn contacts up. You are considered a rock star in LinkedIn. People start trying to link in with you. The whole thing will reverse itself. Instead of you trying to link in with them, they'll try to link in with you when you get 500 or more contacts. Because all it's going to say is you have 500 plus contacts. You could have 1 million. Once you get over that 500, boom, you're in the top 1%, or maybe even 1% of 1%, but let's say 1% of all the people on LinkedIn. So now you're sexy as hell. You look great. And you can do it with a Fiverr gig in about 3 or 4 days. So what they did is they sent me a contact list of people that were in a group called Lion. I think it was LinkedIn Online Network. It was basically people that had all agreed in a huge pool that if somebody else that was a lion, like yourself, they would always accept their requests. So here you had they sent me a list of like 5,000 people that were in the Lions group. And all I did is in bulk, I sent out requests, maybe like 100 a day out to these people. I was getting about 80 of them coming back a day. After a couple of days, the other 20 out of each 80 probably came in. And I'll tell you, in about 4, 5, 6, 7 days, in less than a week, I had 500 plus. And now I've got several thousand, and people are constantly linking in with me. I don't even fool with it anymore, but I just have a ton of people, and once in a while I go in there and I just add them. Next, anytime you need anything, nationally, internationally, you're connected with everybody. So you can say, hey, I have a challenge in this area. You can go to the Q&A and just ask a question, put it out there into the universe, and you will get a flood of answers coming back in. From what? People that are in the top 10% of the country. Some people that you couldn't even afford to ask a question to because they would charge you $300 an hour or more. Also, not only are you going to have contacts for everything you could ever need, want, or desire, and I mean multiple contacts, if you use my system, right? When you go for jobs, LinkedIn, and very few people know this, have their own job board. It's really not known out there in the universe. So you can find jobs on LinkedIn that if you look through all the other major job search engines, you would not find. And here's the bonus. When you find them within LinkedIn, it's going to note everybody that you know in your network that's connected with that company. I'm going to tell you a little tip. There was an old book, and God, they put it out every year since the 80s. I wonder if they're still doing it, because I can remember back in like 1983 or 4, I was looking through this book. Even then, it was a classic. It had been out for a couple of years. And every year since they run it, it's called What Color is Your Parachute? And one of the major takeaways from that book is that if you go in for a job interview and you have no reference, your chances of getting that job are somewhere between 1 in 10 and 1 in 20. So figure about a 1 in 15 chance. If you go in with a crappy reference, like, hey, I know this guy Paul from the internet, would you take a look at his resume? Okay, would you interview him? If you get an interview with even a crappy reference, your chances somewhere between 1 in 2, like 50-50, and 1 in 4, 25%. So say like a 35% chance. That means if you get 1, 2, 3, 4 interviews, by the time you get the 4th interview, normally you would have had like a 1 in 3 chance of getting a job. Now you've got a 100% chance of getting 1 job offer, a 50% chance of getting 2 job offers, and like a 25% chance of getting 3 job offers. And hell, you might hit the the trifecta, and you might get 4 jobs. Who knows? There's a small percentage chance you could hit that as well. So much better odds on LinkedIn. So I hope I've sold you on LinkedIn, and I'll see you in the next section. Hey everybody, welcome back. Keep going and you too will be a master of time management. Now in the last section, we were talking about LinkedIn and how we could get some questions answered there. But there's some other sites that you can use too. I'm going to recommend Yahoo Answers and ask.com. 2 great resources. Now, why are they great resources? 1, because they save you a boatload of time. Remember my friend Nick said, if I got to spend more than 5 minutes trying to figure something out, even with multiple degrees, I'm going to stop and I'm going to ask somebody who knows. This is a great way to have a network without having a network by being able to ask millions of people across the country their answers. Now, people that answer these tend to be higher level, just like LinkedIn. Maybe not quite as much, but depends. But you can get some really good quality answers. What I used to do, and this is the genius system, I mean literally the genius system, I would be able to look like a genius in almost any situation where I had about 24 hours to answer a question. Why? Say my CEO would ask me a question, or ask, maybe all the directors a question. I would go on LinkedIn, I would go on Yahoo Answers, and I would go on ask.com, which I think used to be Ask Jeeves back in the day, if you can remember that. And 24 hours later, I would have this huge list of like 50 different answers. I'd narrow it down to the best 3, 5, or 10, whatever I needed for my purposes, and then I would present those in front of the board, and I would do better than the other 12 directors combined. Why? Because I had a lot better answers. I had more answers. I had higher quality answers. They didn't even know to look in these areas. So I would absolutely, positively crush it and come up with some of the best and most creative and most profitable answers you ever seen, all for free, and look like a genius. You can too. So this is an amazingly valuable resource. It would save you money in consulting fees, like I said in the last section. Some of these people charge $300 an hour, $500 an hour to give you these answers, and you normally couldn't even get them. It also removes that I wish I knew that sooner feeling. So anytime you got a question on anything, it could be personal, health, finance, whatever, go ahead and check out these sources. You'll never look back and say, I wish I waited longer. Go ahead and utilize them. It'll boost your income. It'll save you time. It meets all our criteria. Now, this sheet looks amazingly simple. I did this in Outlook, and basically I broke the day into 15-minute increments. And all I would do is I would put down what I did in that 15 minutes. And then I'd have like a little insignia that I would make, a little note to myself, maybe a check mark or an X. Would you pay somebody to do this? So if it's waiting in line at the grocery store, no, that's not making me money. I'm losing money. If it's sitting there waiting for copies to come out of the copiers, I'm losing money. I'm not making money. You say, well, you got to make the copies. No, you have to turn on the copy machine. You don't have to wait for the copies. See how this works? They did a study in time management with the average worker, and all they did is they had a stopwatch, and they started it every time somebody did something that you pay them for and they stopped it every time somebody wasn't doing something you paid them for, they found that people were working less than 25% of the time. That wasn't a bad worker, that was an average worker. You've got to use this time management sheet. If you use this for anything like a week or 2 weeks, you will have plus or minus like 5% everything nailed down for what are at least 80 or 90% of your time wasters. This is I call this the system by which you find the holes in your boat. Where is your time leaking out and falling on the ground? This is how you do it. Just do these sheets even for 3 or 4 days. You know, why not be 80% accurate? Do it for a week or two, you'll be about 90-95% accurate. Because most things that are ever going to happen in a week or two. So you'll get very good results. You will be amazed before you get through the end of your first day. You'll already start to see where you're losing time, and you'll be like, oh my God, I did not know it was this bad. Then do it to get better and to kind of push yourself so you won't lose as much time. The average person, because you're even thinking about it, this sheet will actually be a little bit off, even the first time you use it. You know why? Because when you use a time tracker sheet, what are you thinking about? You're thinking about tracking your time. And you want to look good. Yeah, even just focusing on time management by doing this sheet here will usually increase your productivity about 25%. Boom, on day one. So actually, no matter how much time you thought you lost, when you did this sheet, when you kind of tally it up at the end of the day, you'd have lost 25% more in an average day. And you know it's true. Yeah, absolutely. So, time tracker, absolutely crucial. Make sure you use it, and you will do amazing. I'll try to leave you a copy of this in the resource section, or in the sometimes what's called the bonus video section. Depends on which platform you're buying this off of. But I'll try to have this hidden away somewhere that you can find it and download it and utilize it. Beautiful sheet. Now, this is my patented walk and talk system. I invented this. People would say, hey, Paul, can I talk to you about blank? And I would say, sure, walk and talk. Which meant I wasn't even going to slow down to talk to them. So it's a huge time saver, keeps conversations short, keeps them targeted, and gives people more respect for your time. How does that work? When I say, okay, fine, walk and talk, what do they know? They've got between now and when I hit my destination. I could hit my destination in 5 seconds, or it could be 20 seconds. But it isn't going to be very long, no more than 30 seconds. I mean, how long is this building, right? 30 seconds. You can walk about half a block in 30 seconds. So people know that they got to be tight. So it keeps the conversation short. They stay on target. They're not going to BS. They're not going to ask you about the weather. They're going to come right to the what? To the ask. What do you need? Boom. Huge, huge time saver. Make sure you use this one and use it on a daily basis. Next one is eliminate problems that repeat. I love this one. This is a huge time saver. You got to use this one. So, ask yourself 2 questions. What problems have you been staring at, which means just watching them repeat over and over again? And what problems are your staff staring at? They're watching them repeat over and over again. And what? Not telling you. It's a secret. Shh, don't tell the boss. Or they don't think to tell you. They think this is just natural or normal. No, losing time, like losing money, is never normal. If you were leaking blood out of somewhere, would you consider that normal? No. Money is what? The lifeblood of any business. If you're leaking money, it's like somebody stabbed you and they're sucking the life out of you. Okay? So, when problems repeat, you got to nail them down. Something happens once in a while, it's a rarity. Don't get too nervous about it. Handle it the best you can and forget about it. But the things that repeat are costing you time. Say something costs you 5 minutes a day. Okay? Well, that's 25 minutes a week because it happens once a day. 25 minutes a week times 52 weeks in the year is 1,300 minutes. Divide that by 60, over 21 and a half hours. So why wouldn't you solve something like that when you're going to get 21 and a half hours back in the next year? And it might take you 3 hours to figure out how to solve it. Something like that, something as small as something that takes up as little as 5 minutes. 21 and a half hours, 21.6 hours a year. Take 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5 hours, whatever you got to do to nail it down. Now, what if this is 5 minutes times every one of your staff and there's 20 of them? Well, now you lost about 410 hours, 20 hours, somewhere in there. That's a lot of damn pay. So don't stare at problems that repeat. So go through and assess current problems with your team, find out what they are, create an action plan, how we're going to deal with it step by step, accountability, who is going to do what and when, monitor it. What's not monitored doesn't get done, right? That's gotten to your area, right? And then follow up. Make sure they're doing okay. Make sure they don't need any help. Make sure they're getting it done. And give the staff some encouragement. Tell them they did a great job of this. You know, show them some of these figures, how much they're saving. They're doing wonderful work and they're saving you a ton of money. So whether in your life or as part of a team, make sure you use this system. It will save you a boatload of time. You'll never look back and say, I wish I didn't do this. This is one of the ways that you fill the holes in your boat that you find through your time tracker sheet. Hey everybody, welcome back. You're doing absolutely amazing. You're more than halfway through, so I'm very proud of you. Now, this is going to seem like a funny little technique, but it is huge. Find a good hiding place. I love this graphic here. It looks like George Clooney there, doesn't it? Here's the deal. You can get more done in a focused hour alone than you can in 2 to 3 hours dealing with interruptions and distractions. I had a buddy, his name was Nick, and what he did was he actually took the expense to rent an office 1 floor down from where he actually worked. Then what he would do is he would sneak down there for an hour, once, twice, 3 times a day, and he could get everything done. He could get 2 to 3 hours worth of work done in that amount of time, in that 1 hour. So 1 became 2 or 3 easily, sometimes 4 or 5. He had a lot of distractions. He tried to train people not to distract them, but against all resistance, they would always push through in some way, shape, or form. So find a good hiding place. I did this when I was working at a mental health facility. There was a doctor's office, and the doctor was only in there for about 3 hours a week to check out the patients. And I think they used it a little bit on the weekends for something. But 95.5% of the time, that place was empty. If I even wanted to go down and lie on the cot and relax my back, take a breather, de-stress, I could do that there. If I just wanted an empty space to get a lot of work done, boom, I could do that there. There was a conference room that they would use 3 or 4 hours out of the day. You got to realize there's 16 hours in 2 shifts. So about 80% of the time that was free if you just knew when the meetings were. So I could ask the administrative assistant, you know, is anybody using this for the next hour or so? Sometimes they would even tape over the windows, or I would sit down at the far end so that when they looked through that little glass pane, they couldn't see me at the far end. They would think the room was empty when it wasn't. Sometimes people would sneak in to use it for something or have a conversation or, I don't know, make out, whatever they were going to do. And there's old Paul sitting there. And my boss thought this was impressive, that I was getting away, getting things focused, getting things done, taking special time to what? Figure out ways to work harder and more effectively. That was worth a promotion right there. So, great technique. Don't fail to use this. It will serve you very, very well. I love this graphic, don't you? I mean, sometimes it feels like this is what it's getting down to, right? You gotta plan stress breaks into your day. What happens is over the day, your stress goes up and up and up. And if you don't do some kind of pattern interrupt, you don't take a little stress break, you don't knock that down, it's going to get high, stay high, and burn you out. Remember, the stress mantra is anything worth doing is worth overdoing. I was one of these people. I'm as guilty as anybody. If there was a stress gang, I was the leader of it. I love to eat stress. You know, I would tell people, how they would say, how's everything going, Paul? And I'd say, great. I'm burning the candle on both ends and down the middle and hitting the rest with a flamethrower. I love stress. Love to overdo it. Love to be hard charged. It made me feel good. Like to have too much caffeine. Like to be kicking things out. You know, making other people look really slow. Getting an amazing amount done and feel fantastic when I leave that I had absolutely positively crushed it. Well, I'll tell you, you do that for about the first 10 years of your career, you're fine. You won't even notice it. Around year 15, 20, you're going to get major burnout, anxiety disorder, depression. You're going to start slowing down. It's going to start interrupting your thinking. Your creativity is going to go to pot. Take the stress breaks. What studies have found is if you take like 4 short stress breaks, might be 3 minutes, might be 5 minutes. We're talking about 15 to 20, anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes a day. That's like, you know, 0.1% of your day. It's very, very small, just a teeny tiny fraction. And what happens is your productivity, you know, say that's 3% of your day, but your productivity will go up 10, 15, 20, sometimes 25%. You'll come up with better ideas. You'll be more creative. You'll last longer. If you do have to do some extra hours that day, you won't be as tired. You'll sleep better at night. You know, you'll be better to your family when you go home. You know, they say the strongest metal will wear with use. The strongest battery will drain with use. You have to recharge your batteries a little bit. People tell you this. They tell you this like it's a relaxation thing or it's going to keep your anxiety down. And people are hard charging like, no, that's the minute I take advantage of everybody. When they're rested, I'm kicking ass. No, the people that are the most effective, because remember, time management is about working smarter, not necessarily harder. The people that are hard working and don't look left and right and they're just kicking it out trying to get that last little advantage, they don't slow down long enough to make sure that they're using good systems, to make sure they're heading in the right direction, to check and see how well they're doing, to look around and see what other resources they could be using. Usually during these times of quote-unquote rest, I can almost guarantee you, at least half the time, you're going to come up with an idea that'll save you time today, tomorrow, and the next day while you're relaxing. Because an idea will just float to your mind when you finally calm your mind down. Because with your mind, when you're getting this stress, it tightens and tightens and tightens. And pretty soon, new and creative ideas can't get through that net. But by relaxing, a great idea that will save you several multiples of the time you took off to relax will float into your mind. Sometimes life-changing. So don't think stress breaks are for sissies who can't take stress. They're for people who want to be the most efficient. It's like Stephen Covey used to say in the book, you know, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You know, he said, if I had an hour to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 50 minutes sharpening the axe. These stress breaks are for you to sharpen the axe. Take care of the tool that does all that hard work so it can keep doing it. Come up with those creative ideas that float in between, and do your absolute best work. You'll also find you'll make less mistakes. You know, if it takes you 5 minutes to do something, you make a mistake, it might take you 30 minutes, you know, 25 to 30 minutes, 5 to 6 times as long just to fix that. Why? You were going too fast. You didn't take any breaks, you didn't relax, you didn't watch what you were doing, and it will hurt you. Now, here's your next major time thief. TV. The average person spends 3 hours per day in front of the TV. This is huge. Now check yourself. How much time do you spend? Is it 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? Remember, this is the average person. We only worry about you. So, if you could take back just a half hour per day from watching the TV, this is going to give you an extra 3.5 hours per week. That is 182 hours per year. That's an entire month of 40-hour-a-week work. Do the math. See if I got it right. That's a boatload of time. I can teach you a quick trick right here. Be worth the price of the course just to learn this. Here's what you do. Watch your 3 hours of TV. But here's what I want you to do. Record it. Don't watch anything live. Here's how TV works. 60 minutes is 1 hour, one show. Okay? Or 2 half-hour shows. But let's say it's a 60-minute show. How much time of that 60 minutes is commercials? 20 minutes. You get to watch 2 minutes for every one that they take. They give you 2, you pay for 1. That's 20 minutes out of every hour. So, in 3 hours, you can get an hour back or 2 months worth of work per year just by watching pre-recorded and skipping past the commercials. Beautiful way to do it. So I'm not saying watch less TV, but do it more efficiently. And then, of course, if you want to, yeah, go ahead and watch less TV. It won't hurt you. Nobody's ever died from watching too little TV. You'd never see that in the papers. TV is a major time thief. And spend some time on TV watching something that's going to help you with your life. So it can be equally entertaining. What I do is I love the Netflix documentaries. They have lots of great stuff on health and wealth and finance and relationships and psychology and, you know, things that'll help you make money or improve your life in some way, shape, or form. I've been pouring through recently just hours and hours and hours of diet and nutrition because being a sound mind, I want to die natural causes. I want to save a bunch of time. I want to make a bunch of money. I want to enjoy my life. I want to die from old age, not all these things that make you decrepit that don't have to, that are entirely preventable through a tiny amount of exercise, diets, and a few very simple supplements. That's what I want to have going on in my life. So I take a chunk of my normal TV time and I pour it into that. I've even taken some of my TV time, because the last thing that we were talking about was stress management, and at the end of the night, for about 10, maybe 15 minutes, I'll watch like a relaxation tape, like the ocean or a fireplace. Those are my 2 favorite. There's a Babbling Brook one that I like sometimes. And I watch that to decompress from the TV, to de-stress myself before I go to bed. So just a little bonus tip for you there. Let's move on to your next tip. Got another great one here for you. This is major in the field of time management. It's called batch tasking, okay? So what you do is you take all your tasks and you put them into batches. Take all your phone messages and return all your phone messages at once. Do all your filing at once. Do all your copying at once. Do all your progress notes or filling out of forms all at once. Do all your paperwork all at once. What happens is, you can see on this learning curve, this is an actual learning curve. Each time you do something, the first and second time, these are practices, they're considered. If I do 3 or 4 more of those, you can see the amount of time it takes is dropping. If I do it 5 or 6 times, or practices they call them, drops, drops, drops. So by the time you get out to about 10 or 12, you just about maxed it out. Certainly by 13 and 15, you pretty much maxed out any benefits. But if you start and stop, you do a few messages, then you do a little bit of paperwork, then you do a little bit of your copies, then you do a little bit of your filing. This gives you a little bit more variety, and people tend to like this better, but I'm not going to like it better if it's taken me, and look at that learning curve. You got it down to about a minute a task, down from 7 minutes. So it's going to take me somewhere between half the time and a third of the time, if you kind of do the math on this, to do it in batches. And if that's not exciting enough for you, you're going to have a half to 2/3 of that time. Say it took you an hour, you'll be done in about 20 minutes, and somebody else, it'll still take them another 40 minutes. You go do something fun for that 40 minutes and still be done as soon as they are. Or you could say, hey, I'm going to take that 40 minutes, I'm going to blow 20% of it, 20 minutes of it, and just enjoy myself and kind of laugh at the fools that don't do it this way. And I'm going to take the 20 minutes left, and I'm going to get ahead of them and beat them every single time, even though I took 20 minutes off. They are too damn slow. Why? They weren't smart enough to take a time management class. They weren't smart enough to listen to the instructor and start batching the tasks. They don't know about efficiency. They don't know about the learning curve. This is why this program is giving you an unfair advantage in life. So remember, batching tasks, and you will absolutely crush it. Hey folks, we're rolling right along and the great tips just keep on coming. Now your briefcase, remember it's a tool, it's not storage. Remember, a briefcase can save you time or it can waste it. Tips, keep it organized. You want to be able to find things fast, simple, and easy. Keep it well stocked. Make sure that you have everything that you need in there to be efficient. Make sure you also don't have things in there that you don't need. So always ask yourself, what do I need for the task? Make sure that's the only thing in there. I used to keep a box by my desk, and all the extra stuff in my briefcase when I was going to an important meeting, I would dump it out so I had just the things that I needed for the task. Later I would fill it back in because I loved it to kind of be like a Swiss Army knife. You know, I wanted to have a stapler when I needed it. I had a little mini one of that. I wanted to have the ruler. I wanted to have some of the, extras and niceties that I had in my briefcase, and extra notebooks and some guides that I had. I always had those. Things that made me efficient, things that were going to make me money. Not just any old thing, not old paperwork. Keep it neat, keep it clean, keep it organized. You'll be glad you did. Huge time saver. Now, here's one of the most shocking things you're ever going to see. The stopwatch technique. I alluded to this briefly in a previous section. I said they did a study, and all they did is they followed staff around with a stopwatch, and every time they did something that they would pay them for, they started the stopwatch, tick, 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 and every time they were wasting time or doing something that I would not pay you for, boom, off it went. Clock runs when you're doing something that I would pay you for. It stops when you're doing something I wouldn't. They found that the average person was only working 25% of the time. That's 2 hours out of an 8-hour shift. You're packing 2 hours into 8 hours, and you go home at night and you tell your wife, boy, I had a horrible day today. They just ran me ragged. No, you have horrible time management. You don't even understand how much time you're wasting. You've got to do this sometime. And this will show you how bad your time management is. It'll get you focused on making it better. And between this and the time tracker, the time management sheet that I gave you, these two techniques, you will be crushing it in the area of time management. You will have a greater awareness of where all the holes in your boat are, where all the time is leaking out, and an intolerance of the things that are wasting your time. These little conversations about minutia and the weather, and it'll drive you nuts when you see people at the copier just watching the copier copy. They're watching another device do work while they're doing nothing. And guess what? That stopwatch goes off. I used to figure out other things that I could do at the copier. I didn't care if I was just educating myself and reading something while I was at the copier. Sometimes I'd bring a little filing box and I'd do some filing. Or I'd get on my cell phone and I'd start returning some of the calls and some of the messages. Or I'd start doing some notes or planning or strategizing or doing some paperwork at the copier. I would use my briefcase as a little desk. I'd open it up and then I'd close it and I'd use it for a little desk and I'd write on top of it and I would start getting things done. People are like, why aren't you doing that in your office? Well, because I'm making copies. If I were in my office, I'd be working there. But until they slide the copier into my office, not going to happen. Or I would go to the copier, I would get the copies running, go back to my office, get some work done, and then go back to the copier, as long as it wasn't too far away. Now this would drive people nuts because if you got there and 20, 30 seconds had gone by and they were waiting for the copier and they're like, what's all this stuff in there? They're so mad. But oh well, because they're all going to be working for me someday. Why? Because I have excellent time management. So use the stopwatch technique, use it to find your wasted time, and get that time. Remember, time is life. Get that back. Now, there's two types of conversations in life. If you do a sitting conversation, the same conversation, getting the same amount done, on average, statistically, 10 to 20 minutes. So figure 15 minutes. Standing conversation, have this exact same conversation, standing up in the same place you're at, or in the hall or in your office, doesn't matter. 3 to 4 minutes to get it done. When people sit down, they get social, they relax, they talk about a lot of extra things. Have your conversations standing. When I used to have people that came into my office and wasted my time, first thing I did is I shot out of my chair, went over the door to greet them, said hi, and said, how can I help you today? Which meant get right into the conversation. Hi is all the niceties we were going to have. I didn't even say hello because hi was shorter. So I wanted to be standing, okay? And if they were taking too long, I wanted to be standing and I wanted to be up so I could walk out the door. I would tell them that I had to go do something, be someplace. You know, maybe I go to the copier, make another copy. But I wanted to get them out of my office. So that's kind of 2 techniques in one. Remember, sitting is going to be about 5 times longer. Figure 4 to 5 times longer. Standing, 4 to 5 times what? Shorter. You're going to get this done in about 20 to 25% of the time. So have standing conversations. I used to do this as a technique when companies would hire me to go in as a consultant. They would say, geez, we have these board meetings and they go on and on and on. They're set for like an hour and a half, and they end up going like, 2-3 hours. They're just getting to be too damn long. We don't get through half our agenda. First thing I would do is I would have everybody come into the room and we would do 2 things. We would set an agenda, great time saver, right? And then we would do the entire meeting standing. Perfect. Standing is always better. When people were standing, I guarantee you that hour-long conference, people can't stand for more than about half an hour at a whack, and they're very uncomfortable. That hour meeting got condensed down to half an hour, and 100% of everything got done because we told them everything on the agenda had to get done. Do you know how much time saving that was? We got done more in 25% of the time that they were spending than they were getting in 100% of the time. So in an hour and a half, they didn't get as much done as we got done in about 20 to 30 minutes. That's about when their legs gave out. Now, here's another huge time saver, because remember, time and money are the same thing. I hope you're not just working to work, unless you're, you're a humanitarian or you're doing really good work like I did therapy. So I would do some extra hours. Got paid, didn't get paid, didn't matter. I love to do the work. I want to do high quality work, so I was willing to do that. But otherwise, I get paid hourly, and I don't work more than you pay me. And I always want to get paid more and more. So I have to be worth more and more. So if time is money, you should be building your financial skills. You're working for your money, but your money should be working for you. This is a time condenser. It's going to condense the time until you're wealthy, until your income and investments are actually making more than your job, and it's going to condense the time between now and when you get to retire. Did I mention it's going to condense the time between now and when you get to retire? I hope you heard that. So, strange piece, but financial skills are actually time management. So, get into a couple of things. Mutual funds. Mutual funds are awesome because before the 80s, when I was kind of getting out there in the workaday world, I think around 1980 to 85, somewhere in there, this is when all the mutual funds were coming out. You used to have to buy stocks in blocks of 10,000. Or if you had a buddy or a broker that would be kind enough to break it down from a 10,000 block to 5,000, to get one block of shares, say it was a $10,000, it was a 10,000 block of shares. If it was like a crappy penny stock that was like $3, you had to come up with $30,000. And did you have any diversity? If that stock went to hell, what happened to your money? It went to hell too. Now you can spend the opposite. You can spend like $30 or $50 and put it in a mutual fund, and you could spread it like, I want 1/100th, I want 1/1,000,000th of a share, and spread it over like 10 or 15 different stocks. You can have amazing diversity. You don't invest either when you have a block of 30,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 to invest. Every time, you could be putting in an extra 20, 40, 50 bucks a week and invest. Beautiful way. Mutual funds are the greatest thing ever invented. Here's another great invention. IRAs, individual retirement accounts. Basically, They're a way to instantly make your tax bracket back on your money in 1 second. Say you're in a 30% tax bracket, you're making, what would that be, around $50,000, $60,000 a year. That probably puts you in a 30% tax bracket. Now, it's graduated. They don't charge you that on, say, maybe like the first 25. So your effective rate isn't the 30%, it's more like 20%. So for every $100 I put away into an IRA, the government would have taken 20 bucks anyways. So no, when I keep it as income, I have $100, but they only give me 80 and the government takes 20. When I put it into an IRA, the whole 100 goes in there and I get to keep it. So what does that mean? It means instantly, in a second, by putting it in there, I made 20% of my money. That's amazing. Try to show me an investment. Guaranteed. Rock solid. Cannot fail. Guaranteed 20%. Hard to find. If you could find that, you could sell that in the open market for billions of dollars. You'd be the richest man in the country. Hard to find. And it never lasts. IRAs have been doing this for decades now. And every year, normally, say you made $100 on your investments, the government would come in and take, I think the current rate's around 24%. They would take $24 out of every 100 that you earned by being smart and having your investments. So if you make 100 bucks, no, the government only says you can only keep 76 of that. In a normal investment, that's true. In an IRA, they let you keep 100%. So say I'm making 8% on my IRA and you're making 10% on yours individually. You're actually going to end up with a few less dollars than I am because you're losing 24% and there's only a spread of 20% between us. I'm actually, even though I'm making 2% less, I'm actually making, I'm making 20% less, 2 percentage points less. I'm actually making 4% more than you. So IRAs make 20% right off the bat minimum, more if you're in a higher tax bracket, and it's going to accumulate wealth without taxes. You don't get taxed on this until you retire, and then at a lower rate. Boom. So you're saving a huge amount. Now, taxes are a huge amount of income. You got to get real good at hiding your money and avoiding some of these taxes. One of the best ways, bar none, is the IRAs. Say if I hit $60,000 this year, I'll end up jumping up a tax bracket and paying another 5%. So last year I made $55,000, no problem. This year I got a promotion and I got a raise or whatever. Now I'm at $60,000. Ooh, I'm going to give up most of that $5,000, maybe like 4 out of that $5,000 because I jumped tax brackets. Here's what I can do. Put like $1,000 in an IRA. That is not considered part of your taxable income. Now it looks like you only made $59,000 this year. So you're going to save that 20% on the 1,000. You're going to make income on that over time like we talked about, and you dropped yourself a tax bracket. So get good with taxes. That's just one tax tip. Get together with your accountant, get online, get educated, take a course on it, get really good at it. The next area, for most people that have massive wealth, real estate is a big part. So of course, getting your own home can be part of that. You could buy into real estate. There's lots of different ways to do real estate. You'd be surprised. Real estate isn't just buy a place and rent it. No, there's about 1 million different ways to do real estate. So check into that, look into that, build up your financial skills. These are just a few examples, but you got to get really good at doing one of two things. Making more money by having your money make you money, or getting out there and working more what? More time, more hours. That's why this is part of time management. And it's a huge part of it. Because like I said, it can seriously cut down the amount of time it takes between now and when you retire. Hey everybody, welcome back. You're just in time for snacks. I call this section lunch versus crunch. I used to love to keep some snacks around. I would do dry goods in my car, especially because I live in Florida. Sometimes the heat is just intense. Chocolate's not going to make it. Chips aren't going to make it. But some dry goods, especially granola bars and those types of things, beautiful. Seeds and nuts would do very well in this environment. All depends on the temperature, but most places don't do chocolate in your car. But in the car, in the office, this can be a huge time saver when you just don't have time for lunch. Or, I a lot of times wouldn't have much for breakfast. I have a granola bar, maybe a granola bar or a sandwich or a light salad for lunch, and then I have my main meal at dinner. So a lot of times if I was going to skip something, I wanted to have some snacks around. I didn't want to pay extra for them, so I would buy them in bulk. I tried to make sure that they were healthy, so I wasn't eating junk. Always made sure I had some bottled water around, and it just saved me time, money, and hassle. I never had to go out to the store. I never paid extra, because if you pay extra, you got to do what? Work more hours, spend more time paying for this junk. And never, ever, ever go out to lunch unless you're making money doing it. I would sit down with a gorgeous lunch. I could cook it and eat it in about 5-10 minutes. My wife made it for me, and the cost of making that meal was probably about $1.35 to $2. Somebody goes to McDonald's, they eat a pile of crap, it's $5, it's almost $6 after tax. They got to take 15 minutes to go to McDonald's, 15 minutes to come back, 5 minutes waiting in line, 15 minutes eating their meal, and this is like a 45-minute to an hour adventure, and they call that fast food? How can that be? Me at my desk having a healthy lunch or a tasty snack, that was the way to do it. Saved me a boatload of time, boatload of money. I once calculated that people were spending approximately $1,000 to $2,000 per year. It was closer to about $1,500, maybe $1,700. If they put that away every single year, that's the difference in the price of their lunch versus my lunch. That was probably about half of what they need to retire on. Because, yeah, it was about $1,000 to $1,500, somewhere in there. You do the math, you see what you come up with. Again, what does that do? That's more time. When I've already got enough money to retire, they're 40, 50, trying to put away 5-6 times as much, doing massive hours, doing overtime, all this type of junk when they should be slowing down in their career. Okay? They're spending more time trying to make up for the retirement money that they lost, and they lost it with stupid stuff, magazines, cell phones, snacks, lunches, and a lot of it was just going out to lunch. These people weren't even making that much money. They're going out to lunch every day. I'm like, that's a rich man sport. I take my wife out to dinner about once a month, or we do one thing a week. That's it, because it's just too expensive. And even when it isn't, I just get bored doing this stuff. I don't like to eat out every night of the week. That's crazy. I hate it when I have to do that when I'm in hotels. So, major convenience, major cost saver, major time saver. Lunch versus crunch. Now, when you got people working for you, always give clear instructions. Okay, maybe not that clear. Don't do the bullhorn in the ear. But there was a weird study, and it showed that you had to say something to somebody 4 times for them to get it 100% once. So what I would typically do is I would give people very clear instructions. I would break it down. You need to do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And then I would ask them, are there any questions? And they would say no. And I would say, okay, tell me back what I just told you. And about 2/3 of the time, they would get it wrong. And I'd say, okay, and I'd go back over it. A lot of times I don't even bother. If I'm giving this assignment to 3 or 4 people, or sometimes even 1, because I don't want to lose the hours, either their man hours or my man hours to have to fix it, or to tell them again, or to reassign it, I'll write the damn thing down for them. Because like I said, I could tell them like 3 times before, or 4 times before they get it even once. So don't say, oh, I told so-and-so to do that, he should have it done. Oh, no, 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 no. That's going to blow back on you, and I want you to take full responsibility for that. Not because you didn't tell them, you did. But did you tell them 3, 4 times? Did you write it down? Did you train them on it? Did you check and monitor to make sure they did it? If you didn't do all those things, it's not their fault, it's your fault. That's why you're management. Now, having said that, if you're a line worker, if you're working under somebody, which is what? Because jobs are pyramid schemes, virtually everybody is under somebody. When the boss gives you instructions, he's going to think he can just tell you once. Slow the roll, ask him questions, take it down, and he'll say, I want you to do a great job on this. Slow him down. What would a great job look like? Okay? How much time have you budgeted for this? How often do you want me to check in? These types of things. What are the exact outcomes you want from each one of these steps? Slow them down. Make sure they were clear. Bosses are not always good at giving instructions. Now, screening phone calls. Another huge, huge time saver. Taking a call will actually extend the length of the call 3 times. That's what studies show. That's an actual number. Taking the call will make it 3 times longer. So only pick up on the most vital calls. So if the boss calls or a supplier calls or a major buyer calls, take those calls. But everybody else, let them go to the answering machine. Then we're going to do what? We're going to batch our tasks. We're going to answer our calls. Now this helps you and it helps them. Why? Because you'll be able to listen to their message, figure out exactly what they need, get them those things without any small talk, and have everything lined up and done for them, and then call them and tell them that it's already over. You've solved it. They'll be thrilled. As far as they're concerned, they weren't even thinking about it. You called them and you instantly solved it. You did it fast. You saved their time, you saved your time, and you were most efficient with the company time and the company resources. So remember, phone calls are a major time thief. Only pick up on the most vital ones. Now, this seems like a strange time management piece, but use surge protectors. This is kind of an odd one. See last known location of your computer? When that blows up, when it takes everything, you better have used a surge protector. Matter of fact, I would go the extra step. Spend about $150. People were amazed when I did this. I spent $150. When the power blew out in the building, I had a backup laptop for my desktop, so I could go about an hour and a half on that. And even my desktop, I could keep running for about an hour and a half off the battery in low power mode. Boom. So I was able to go up to 3 hours of working when basically everybody else got sent home for the day. They're like, what can we do? Everybody was milling around their office saying, well, you know, by candlelight, I can do a little bit of paperwork, or, you know, phones came back after an hour, I could do a little bit of that, or I could make some calls on my cell phone or whatever. But basically, they were all screwed. I didn't miss a beat. And I'm in Florida. Power will go out 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year. Or because you don't have the battery backup or you don't have the surge protector, it will crash your system and you won't have the backup. You're going to lose whatever you're working on. So I'll give you one little more bonus time management tip under this one. Go into, like, say, if you're using Microsoft Word and Microsoft Office, you can go under settings and options and set it to make sure that it makes a backup copy of all your work. It saves your work. You can do it like once a minute. I think that's a strain on the system. I set it for about 3 to 5 minutes. 3 is better. It takes about a split second for the computer to do that. You won't even notice the drain in resources. And boom, boom, boom. You won't lose more than 3 to 5 minutes worth of work. Perfect. That's your tip for this section, and I'll see you in the next part of the training. Hey, welcome back. More specific time management techniques. This one is batching trips and plan the routes. Trips are major time wasters, so you always want to keep your travel to a bare minimum. So what I do is I always try to plan the route and batch all my trips together. Get from point A to point B in the shortest distance and least amount of time possible. Why do I do this? Because I want to save time, money, gas. I mean, if you've looked at gas prices lately, they're through the roof. They're terrible. So beat the system. Many times, because you're wasting your staff's time, it's better to host the meeting. So a lot of people thought I was generous. They're like, Paul's so nice. You know, he always hosts the meeting and he puts out nice snacks and blah, 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 blah. If you looked at the time spent, if it took my staff half an hour to go to somebody else's place, get settled in and start the meeting, and then a half an hour back, that's 1 man hour. Say you're paying your staff 20 hours apiece, and you got to send 5 staff members over there and it wasted an hour, 20 times 5, that's $100. I can buy a lot of snacks for $30, get 5 more hours of productive time from my staff, and only spend $30. And I don't have to pay them mileage or trip time or any of that stuff. Boom, done. That's why I'll tell you, very quickly it becomes much more efficient and much cheaper to be able to host the meeting. So that's your tips on travel. Next tip is hire an assistant or 2. You got 2 right here. There you go. Think of it this way. If you're making $40 per hour or more, why are you doing $20 per hour tasks? Redo the math. What you want to do is you want to take who you are and multiply it. Now, I learned a great way to do this through virtual assistants. I have virtual assistants over in the Philippines. So I pay them anywhere from $1.50, which is a normal wage. Actually, I think I pay them $1.75 because $1.50 is a normal wage over there. So I want to start them out at a good wage that they're happy with and they'll be loyal. Then if they do good work, of course, I bump them up from there. So that's very cheap. I don't know if you can afford, $20 per hour for a normal American assistant, but you certainly can with virtual assistants. So start with virtual assistants, and then for the things that you absolutely positively must have somebody here, hire somebody. Pay them under the table, whatever you need to do. Did the IRS hear that? No. Okay. Do what you need to do. Don't spend your time doing work that is at a lower pay rate than you. Making copies is like minimum wage work. It's $10, maybe $15 an hour work. You can't make $40 an hour or $100 an hour if you're doing $15 and $10 an hour work. So always do that math. Always check that out. So how can you multiply yourself by getting cheaper staff? Lawyers are the best at this. You know what they'll do? They will charge you $300 an hour. They'll charge you for a minimum of 10 hours. They're going to spend maybe 45 minutes with you. They're going to hire somebody at $35 an hour. That's called a legal assistant, right? Legal aid. And they're going to do the other 9.25 hours with you. See how much money they're making? You think they're making $300 an hour. Oh, no, no, no. They're making several multiples of that. You can see how they barely worked 1 hour to make 10. That's like them making what? $3,000 an hour. And what's their expense out of that? 35 times 9. Maybe out of that $3,000, I have to pull a couple hundred. Boom. But I'm still making $2,800 an hour versus $300. So if you ever thought they were expensive before, look at what they actually do and you'll be amazed. They're basically signing off on legal assistance. That's what you should be doing. How can I be making money where people are paying me, say, $100 an hour to do something and pay somebody else $20 an hour to get it done? I quickly check over maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people's work. I get 80% of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people's work. I now have like 8 times as much money and I haven't done one more bit of work. This is one of your major time management skills. Get people working for you inexpensively, but pay them well. They're inexpensive compared to you. You keep becoming more valuable. Make your services more valuable so you can charge more and more and more, and people will beat a path to your door. Then have lower paid people do all the work and you just check it. Perfect. Now, this has always been a major bone of contention with people. People say, oh, a clean desk is a sign of a sick mind. That sounds funny when you say it, but it's not actually true. Messy desks are major time wasters. They've even checked this with people that have the messy desks. They let them have their messy desk and they check their productivity, and then they clean their desk and got it organized and checked it afterwards. On average, even for somebody that's really good at handling a messy desk, 20 to 25% boost in efficiency. Nice. And nothing ever gets lost. Second thing, if you're not good with handling a messy desk, but things just get away from you, you're going to see an even greater increase in productivity, which is what? Time savings, money. So try to keep a neat office, buy a couple of simple organizers. I don't care if you put things in boxes, but get them squared away. We seem like we never want to slow down long enough to spend an hour or two to organize our desks to save a couple hundred hours by the end of the year. But do it, do it, do it. Make it happen. Now, a little bit about the cleanup. Remember we were just talking about a messy office? Yes. I've got something for you called the TRAF system. T-R-A-F. Let me walk you through it. You're going through all this junk on your desk, in your office, and your filing cabinets. So, first thing is the circular file, also known as T for trash. What would happen? What's the worst thing that would happen if I lost this item? Okay? And what are the chances that that will happen? Do that math in your head, and when, if at all possible, when in doubt, throw it in the trash. If you're not going to throw it in the trash, and you say there's a 1 in 100 chance that I might need this, or this could be a major liability if I ever lost this, not 1 chance in 100 or 1 chance in 1,000 that I'd ever need it, but let's hold on to it. Put that in a trash box, almost like you would do a recycle bin, but don't keep it in with your regular desk stuff. Don't keep it in with your files. It's something you could pour through if there was an emergency, but keep it in a box. I guarantee at the end of the year you'll be able to throw all that stuff safely out, but it won't be cluttering up all your day-to-day stuff. Next, try to refer out as many things as you can. Your job is not to do your job, it's to send it to somebody else that's less important than you. Always delegate, delegate, delegate. So, I've got a bunch of things that need to be done. I got a bunch of paperwork. I'm going to trash as much as I can. I'm going to refer some stuff out. Next, if you have some paperwork on your desk or in your files, take some action on it so you can get rid of it. And anything that you can't take action on, well, think of it this way. If I can't trash it, if I can't give it to somebody else to take care of, I can't take care of it myself, guess what? File it. Don't leave it out, file it. Do this system, you'll have massive productivity gains, you'll have less challenges, less things will get lost, you're just going to feel better, breathe better, hell, you might look better. Enjoy this tip. This will save you a ton of time, a ton of hassles. Hey everybody, here's your next great tip. Create templates. Think about how many different templates you can create for things that you do over and over and over again. Remember I said problems that repeat need to be addressed? Well, tasks that repeat, like templates, things that you use, forms, PowerPoints, could be emails, all these things can be what they call templatized, simply made into templates, where you have the template and you just alter it slightly and it saves you a boatload of time and always comes out perfect, always comes out gorgeous. Try to think of how many different things you can create templates of and make it happen. Great little tip, great little time saver. Here's another great time saver. Learn how to say no or hell no. Minimally say no. People are such people pleasers. They have a hard time saying no. People say, can you help me with this? And I say, nope. I can pass you over to somebody that'll help you. I can give you a tip on how to help you. Or maybe this is just something you need to do on your own. Be comfortable saying no. With or without helping them, with or without an excuse. Sometimes the simple answer is no. Somebody says, will you give $1 to this charity? Answer is no. Could you give me a hand with this? No. That's it. You don't need to say anything else. Now, it's not that you're not going to give to charities. It's not that you're not going to help other people out. It's you can't say yes every single time, or your life will get sucked in. People know that you have a sheep mentality and you have a hard time saying no. So they'll always do what's called the ask. And they know that when you do an ask, 70% of the time or higher, you're going to get a yes. It depends on what the ask is. Why? because people are people pleasers and there's a strong tendency towards that. This will suck up all your time. If you say yes to everybody, you're going to end up saying no to the areas, the tasks, and the things that are most important to you in life. You're going to have to say no, or I'm out of time, or I can't help you. This is why we don't have time for our families, because we've said yes to too many things at work, yes to too many things that we're volunteering for. And we forgot that, hey, I married the love of my life. I raised X number of beautiful children. I said I would do anything for them. And I was sincere when I said that. But I still want to help these other people. So I don't realize when I'm saying yes to them, I'm saying no to other things. We forget that every yes equals a no on the other side. Remember that, and you'll save a boatload of time. You'll put your time where it's best served. Now, I'm going to share a little tip with you. Consider working for yourself. Some people call a job a J-O-B, which means just over broke. I'll tell you, I worked for many years as a therapist, as an educator, as a trainer. I made all the money I ever saved for retirement in about a year working for myself. Now, I'm a 5-year overnight success because it took me 4 years to get the formula down, but man, I made all the money, all the savings I ever had in my entire life in 1 year of working for myself. So, carefully consider this option. It's a good, solid option. People say, well, it's scarier. What if I, lose my investment or I can't make it out or blah, 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 blah. You have no security in your job. I'm on like job number 24. 2 reasons. 1, businesses go out of business all the time. I've been laid off so many times, it's insane. And or I went to work for a place and they were closed. So I had to find a different job. I had to get creative. I had to go outside my field because most of the jobs were gone. I moved from New Hampshire to Florida because most of the therapy jobs were gone. There was no place to do therapy. All the major facilities in the 80th percentile were gone. I even tried private practice on my own. I didn't realize those people were really just subcontracting under a business called Monadnock Family Services, and they had quote-unquote private practices, but they weren't private at all. If they didn't have my Monadnock Family Services covering their ass, 80% of their business, 80% of their expenses, they were gone like that. I didn't do that great. I barely scraped by, but because I wasn't using Monadnock Family Services, I was crushing it compared to everybody else that was a therapist, in that area of New Hampshire. Now, Monadnock Family Services, I love them to death. They're a great organization. They help a lot of people. Please contribute to them. They're wonderful. But you really got to work for yourself. That's the only time you have security. When you can generate an income on command, even if everything goes south, you know that you can make money. Like I make money online. No matter what happens, even if I had to start from scratch, and that's happened before, I can still make money online. Why? Because I understand the fundamentals. Now, if I lose a job and there's not another job, oh my God, I got to move out of the area. I got to change my lifestyle. I'm working for somebody else who's making money off of me, so I'm the guy who's working for 20 bucks an hour, so this other guy can make $3,000 an hour. I'm in the formula, but I'm on the wrong side of it. You need to get on the right side of the formula. So working for yourself, whether it's online, whether that's in a static business, I think that's a great idea. But you got to be careful because there are high failure rates for new businesses. That's why I like online. Even if I fail, I don't have a huge investment. It's time, it's a little bit of capital, it's a little bit of education, a little bit of monthly expenses, but it's not huge like I put down $60,000 of my money and $180,000 of somebody else's money, for a grand total of what, like $250,000, boom. And if I lose it, I'm bankrupt. No. I lose an online business, I'm a couple thousand in the hole, and I start again. I can do that several times before I go through 20 or 30,000. 1 out of 10 at least is going to hit. Usually 1 out of 2 or 3, and then boom, all of a sudden I'm making 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 a year, which at a $50,000 a year job, I got to eat off of that at least 40. That's about 10,000 a year. It would take me 50 years to make what I can make in one online. Think about it. It could be a huge time saver for you. This could be the best tip you get in the whole training. Think about it, contemplate it, see what you come up with. I can only tell you my experience. Okay, I'll see you in the next section. Now, let's look at staff. Here's a great question to ask yourself. Is my staff trained in time management? If not, here's the next question to ask yourself. What the hell was I thinking? If I haven't trained them to save time, I'm literally asking them to waste time. Okay? They can't do any better than they are trained. Why should they? How could they? It's not possible. How many things can you do, approximately, that you don't know how to do? Correct answer? 0. Hello? 0. You can't do better than you're trained. So don't cheat your staff. It's not their fault. They're young, they're new. Sometimes even if they're old, they haven't had time management training. You should send them to this course. Most people haven't had even one course in time management. And if they did, only 10% of those who had it followed it. So 10% of 10% is about what? 1%. That's an optimistic estimate of how many of your staff, 1 in 100, have been trained and understand time management. It's tiny. You have to fix this. If you don't correct it, you're bleeding money. Again, they're working at 25% efficiency when 100% efficiency is somewhere around about 90% efficiency. Nobody's perfect, you know, but 80 to 90% efficiency, not 25%. That's where you need to get to. That's where you need to be at, and that is going to require what? Training. Now, one of the first ways that you can help your staff is to ask about problems. People tend to stick their head in their sand about problems, okay? I literally use this picture, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. People don't want to hear about problems, they just want them to go away. They don't want to see the problems, or more aptly, they stare at the problems, not really seeing them, because if they saw them, you would think they would take care of them, right? But the difference between a blind man and a man who won't see is indistinguishable. Then there's people that figure, well, if we don't talk about the problem, then it isn't real. We'll just kind of let it slide by. Maybe it'll go away. Maybe it'll heal. No, sorry, it doesn't work that way. So you have to go to your staff and ask them, what do they need help with? Matter of fact, if you brought in a genius consultant to turn around your business, do you know what they would do? They would sit down, they would interview your staff, and they would ask them, what are the problems that you currently see going on, and what would you do about it? And then they collect all the problems on one side of the ledger. Right next to it, they put the answers down. They compile the biggest problems with the best answers, and then they hand it to you, and you go, my God, this is going to turn our entire company around. This is life-changing. This is amazing. How'd you come up with this? You're a damn genius. Yeah, genius is the ability to check in with your staff. The consultants have a great model. It's kind of a great scam. I mean, I don't discount their skill. A lot of times they're bringing in their skills and their knowledge, and you know, the staff doesn't come up with the best answers. Sometimes the consultant does. Sometimes the consultant has to go outside and check in with other companies. It's not quite as simple as I defined it, but that's about 80% of it. That's about 80% of it. Their job is 80% done once they go through that process that I just shared with you. Why don't you do that? It'll open their eyes. It'll open their ears when they, what? Open their mouths. Perfect. Huge time management saver, huge money saver. This will even help you retain staff better, because when you actually make some of the changes that they talked about, they actually believe that you listened to them. For one logical reason, you just did. Beautiful. Everybody wins. That's what I love. So The next thing you need to look at, and I did this every time I went to a company that I had to do a turnaround. One, I did massive training with the staff. Which staff? The staff that was left. I hired all the right people and I fired all the right people. Negativity was a firing offense. I got rid of them. If they weren't productive, I got rid of them. If they weren't a complete asset to that company, I said, there's somebody better out there. I'm going to find them. I'm going to hire them. I'm going to raise them. I'm going to train them. I'm going to get them in here. As soon as I could get rid of somebody that wasn't performing somewhere near their peak, I got rid of them. Why should they be there? They can work for a lesser company. I'm sure there's a lot of lesser companies that would love to have them. I'm sure they're working there now. I hear McDonald's is hiring. That's great. So ask yourself this question. Which employees waste time or produce minimal results? So you've got to nail this down. So the first thing I would do is to shorten the evaluation periods. Don't do it every 6 months. Don't do it once a year. I did them quarterly. I wanted to check in quarterly. Why? So I could see how you were doing. You would get feedback sooner, which helped you as the employee. I could note progress, which means compliment you on the progress. Or I'd know you weren't making progress and you're resistant, and it didn't take me another 3 months to a year to figure that out. All the while bleeding money. You know, you were hurting my other staff. When I was doing mental health, you were literally hurting patients. You know, people that were here to be cared for. That wasn't going to happen on my watch, right? Under my guard. So, shorten evaluation periods helps everybody. And if you need additional training, you need additional help, I know that right off. I'm getting feedback from you as well on what you need, on what you've learned and what you've run up against. You may be sincerely trying to get better and you ran up against a roadblock. I find it out fairly quickly. I even tell my staff, hey, I'm going to evaluate you every 3 months. Okay? But you can check in with me tomorrow if you hit a roadblock. Don't wait until your 90-day evaluation. Say, well, I was doing great, but then this happened and it kind of slowed me down. Why are you waiting somewhere between 1 and 90 and I guess 89 days, right, to tell me this? Tell me right off. Second thing you see is train your staff. I already told you that's the first thing that I did. Boom. I would institute a training program, and I had tons of training materials on the grounds, in the facility that people could pour through. And then I mandated certain things that I wanted them to train on. Because again, only 1 in 10 when you leave the materials there, or 1 in 20, somewhere between 1% and 10%, usually around 5 to 10, closer to 5, will ever use the training materials, even though they got everything they need right there, right in front of them, like a gold mine, to be the best in the facility, the best on the unit, to crush everybody else. They're too damn lazy. Hand it to them. They're too damn lazy. Next, as you get rid of the negative people, okay, one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. The best people will leave when you leave the worst people in place. Get rid of them. They're like, I can work in a place that's more positive. Get rid of them. Next, remove competition. Get people to work together, to do teamwork that you value. Not you did better in your evaluation than somebody else. No. In the evaluations, I'm asking people not only what they did, what they accomplished, and what they produced, but who did you help? Who did you mentor? Who did you team with? Who did you support on your team? This was a family unit. Remove the competition and people won't fight each other. You don't want your own people fighting each other. There's an old African expression. It says that it's easier to go in a given direction with 1,000 men that want to go than with one around your neck. Remove competition. Next, encourage your staff. Don't run around trying to catch people doing things wrong. Run around trying to catch people doing things right. I mean, that goes way back to the 1-minute manager, right? That's like a 80s, early 90s type thing. Make that happen. So many managers are negative. People will do a certain amount because there's negative pressure, and it can be very effective, but what's not worked out will be acted out. They will be more efficient, but they will also stab you in the back every chance they can. They will let you down every chance they can, as long as it doesn't blow back on them. If there's something that will make them look bad, they don't want to bring that to you. They will hide that. That's what causes the dumb, deaf, and blind. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. Because management staff is being so negative. When you encourage staff, they will help you. They will want to do the extra for you. When they probably should leave, they'll stick behind you. When they could screw you, they won't screw you. So, next, remove all the negaholics. I told you that negativity was a firing offense. I worked major hours wherever I worked. I always put in extra time. I got paid for 40. I usually worked 50, 60, or 70. My joke was I hated to pay my mortgage. Why? Because I visit there, but I live here on the job. I spend most of my waking hours with these people. So as the boss, negativity was a firing offense. Why? Hurt the customers, or when I was doing mental health, it hurt the clients. It hurt the other people I worked with, and somebody else I care about, me. I didn't want to work with negative people. And negative people are 25 or up to 50% less effective than positive people. And you know what? You leave one negative person around 5 positive people, and they will drop the other 5 people's productivity anywhere from 10 to 30%. So an average of 20 to 25%. So if you're a negative person and you're on a team of 5 people, you're dropping the other people's productivity, say 20, 25%. You are virtually costing me in productivity what I pay you. I could have those 4 people alone in a room by themselves and produce almost as much as all 5 of you together, or the same. And they would be happier doing it. So no matter how valuable a negative person was, I got rid of them as quick as I could. Unless it was a deal breaker, they were like CFO and I needed them to do the books, I would keep them there just long enough to replace them. Everybody else, boom. As soon as I found out you were negative, you were damaging the work other people were doing, you were hurting customers or clients, bam, you were gone so fast it would make your head spin. And I would make sure that everybody knew you were gotten rid of because you were that wildly negative. And that anybody wants to be that negative, they're next. And that this is going to be a positive place. And all the right people loved that philosophy, and all the right people hated that philosophy. All the positive people were like thrilled, thank God you got here. 3 other management teams left that person here. They made my life, my very existence almost intolerable. Can't believe they kept them. You finally got rid of them. And I know you're not going to let negative people in. I'm going to stay here until you or I die because now I've got a positive work environment. Do you know how rare that is? Your staff will love you. Next, increase staff resources, starting with the training materials, but also other things they need. There's a lot of things that aren't training issues. They're not attitudinal issues like the negativity. They are resource issues. People simply don't have the things that they need, the simple things that they need to be productive. Okay? So that's basically how you look at it, how you handle it, and how you deal with the staff. If you follow these guidelines, think of what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with staff that knows exactly how they're doing. They're never nervous about their job. They're very well trained. They know if they stay with you, they're going to continue to get wiser. They're going to grow in their job. That's going to keep people there. They know that they're going to progress in their job. They know that they're going to make more money because as they make me more money, I pay them more money. Hello, I pay them more money. I bring them along with me. A rising tide rises all boats. They're going to be in a positive work environment, and they're not going to struggle to have what they want. And they're going to have that work environment that they always wanted. And I tell you, the older staff gets and the more valuable they get, the more they care about quality of life. What does it feel like when I'm at work? Not what are my benefits, what's my package, and what's my pay, and where can I go? Do I feel good at my job? That's what they want. Give them that. Give them a home. They will love you. They will protect you. They will become family. They will do the extra for you. Productivity will go through the roof. You'll be happier. They'll be happier. and it'll be a win, 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 win. You will absolutely, positively crush it. Think about that. Enjoy that. That's a positive message for you. And I'll see you in the next and final training. Congratulations. Hey, welcome back. You are one of my favorite people in the world. That is not an overstatement. You know why? Because there's not one person in 100 that will take a course like this. And then about 75 to 80% of people will not get through to the end. This puts you like in the top 20% of the top 1% that make things happen. I love people that start things and be in a sound mind. When they have great material in front of them, they finish it. Do you know that's actually the rarest thing in the world? People say, I wish I had an advantage. I wish I had a way to get ahead. No, they don't. They have avoided so many ways to get ahead. Look at all the training that is out there. People are begging you to go to school, take a course, read a book. There's so much great information out there, and rarely, if ever, is it consumed. Do you know that over 90% of the books sold from Barnes and Noble, people think they're intellectual, they're readers, are all basically soft porn. They're dramas and mostly women reading, these romance novels. Literally crap, or there are things on stamp collecting and junk like that is a big part of the other 10%. It's like 1% to 2% is actually, how do I get out there? How do I make my life better? How do I become a better employee? How do I become more healthy? How do I have better time management? How am I better at my job? How am I a better parent, better friend, better brother, sister, lover, whatever, in some way, shape, or form, self-improvement, and then actually take the information home and finish it. That is exceedingly rare. It boggles the mind, but it's exceedingly rare, wildly rare. 1%, quarter of 1%. It is so easy to be the best in almost any industry because so many people are lying down on the job. They call them RIP, which means rest in place. In business, it means retired in place. They're never going to move. They've already quit. It might be day one. Most people are retired in place. They're just going to try to get by. But you are the exemplar. You are the person making it happen. You are crushing it. Oh my God, I am so proud of you. You're amazing. So, I want to wrap this up. Last tips. Make time management part of the employee evaluations. That's what we talked about in the last section. Make sure you're shortening the time in which we do evaluations. Now we're talking about what do we do inside of those evaluations specifically to time management. Make sure that you make time management part of the evaluation. I don't know why this isn't measured in evaluations. It's one of the key things. I pay you an hourly wage, which means I pay you for my time, for your time. Then I get to the evaluation and I don't measure how you use that time. Oh my God, are people high? Is management high? Is HR high? Are the corporations high when they're making out these evaluation forms that they don't try to see how you're using your time? That's insane, but there it is. Don't do this in your evaluations. Don't do this when you're the boss. Certainly do not do this inside your company. This is why so many businesses fail. So, one tip I'm going to share with you too, it's from Edwards Deming. There's actually a Deming Award. The Deming Award, they give that over in Asia. Strange thing, that's how they did the Asian turnaround. They listened to Edward Deming. He was our best and brightest mind for how to be productive. And he simply stated, what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. So make sure when you give people assignments, you've got measurements, you've got touchstones, different time dates when things are supposed to be done. Check it along the way. Not, I gave this to you today, 90 days later it's done. Most people will jump in saying, hey, only a week or two left, 10 days left, 5 days left, 3 days left. Do you have this done? And it's nothing like 90% done. it's nothing like 50% done, and it's crunch time. This is procrastination because you're not measuring it. You're not checking in. Always measure, always check in, always evaluate, always praise, always guide, always give the extra resources that people need. Find out problems early. In therapy, we used to say there's a time in the life of every problem when it's big enough to see, but small enough to deal with easily. That's what you want to be doing. Measure, check in, but be sure to make time management a key component of employee evaluations. You'll be glad you did. Now, one of the great time management tips is simply to develop a time management mindset. Whatever you focus on, you get better at. So, you want to have a time management mindset. You're always thinking, how can I save more time? How can I save more time? How can I save more time? There's actually a part of your brain, interesting psychology fact, it's called the reticular activator. Whatever you focus on, you'll find, because your reticular activator will start scanning the environment and find the resources you need to meet the goal that you keep in the front of your mind. So if you have a time management mindset and you're always looking for ways to save time, your reticular activator will scan the environment. It'll find the ways that you can save time, put that in the front of your brain instead of hiding it in the back of your brain. You will gather new ways to save time. You'll become a time master, a master of time, and you will have mastery in time management. Just what we promised you at the beginning of this program, right? This will take you 80 or 90% of the way to time mastery management. It doesn't take you 100% of the way. Why? Because there's thousands of ways to save time. We have given you the core competencies, and a lot, and I'm very proud of this, a lot of the very unique competencies that you never, ever, ever see in a time management book or training. I saw a time management book. It was done by Yale or Harvard, one of the major Ivy League universities. It was this tiny book, and it was probably about maybe 90 pages long, and it was pure crap. By the best and the brightest, it was pure crap. I looked at these time management techniques, and it said, I said to myself, I can do at least that bad. It was like a $35 book. This was an expensive hardcover book. And I'm like, this is rubbish. I would throw this right in the trash. Over 90 pages, there's 4 good ideas in here. And they're so basic, I'd be embarrassed to put them in a book on time management. I said, I can crush these guys. I can crush these guys in the first 10 pages. So I created my own time management book, which bits and pieces are found in here. Ultimately, I'll publish the whole book. I'm not done yet. Like I said, there's hundreds and hundreds of different ways that are good, solid ways, major ways that most people can use to save time. When I get all of those together and I got enough time, I'm going to put together a book on time management and put that out there. But for now, I'd rather get the best of the best out there to you right now. So I want you to go out there, and I want you to have that mindset, you to be gathering ways to save time specific to your needs, your focus, your business, and your future. I want you to have the best future ever. Let me leave you with this thought. Time cannot be replaced. Write that down. Time cannot be replaced. I love this quote. It's by Samuel Smiles. It says, lost wealth may be replaced by industry, lost knowledge by study, lost health by temperance or medicine, but lost time is gone forever. So, if you got any questions, I'm not sure which platform you're buying this through. I have multiple platforms. People are just dying to get my materials. But if you have questions, I always want to answer them for you. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm a very busy man, but not too busy that I don't have what? Time for you. So if you have any questions, go ahead, whatever porthole you're in, whatever educational system you bought this through, message me. I will get back to you as soon as I can. I love you for finishing this course. I love you for having the questions, to wanting to do better, desiring to do better, and making the effort to do better. You know how many times you're successful when you do that? 99.9%. I think in this future you're going to be massively successful. My name is Professor Paul. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. You've been a wonderful student. You've been a great audience, and I really appreciate you. I'm there for you, and I hope to see you in my next training.